Flip, 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 Flip Weekly.
Hey, what's going on, guys? This is Matt from flipweekly.com. You're listening to the Flip Weekly podcast, a podcast all about reselling, going to thrift stores, garage sales, Facebook Marketplace, big ups, finding items to resell for a profit. Now, what a huge week we had this week. I hope everyone's doing well. Hope you did okay in the garage sales on the weekend if it wasn't rained out in your state. I wasn't able to get to any, but that doesn't mean we didn't find some amazing things all throughout the week. Now, I put up a video on social media. I asked you guys, what are some things that have never been said inside an op shop in Australia? And man, we had some funny comments. I'm going to read some out here. I just saw this TikTok trend. I'm not known to be jumping on trends, but I kept seeing everyone creating these things you never hear whenever you're doing like a certain subject. And I thought, well, let's just apply it to thrift stores. And, I had some ideas like, let me buy this Anko shirt. What an amazing selection of video games. Just things that you don't hear within a thrift store. You guys came through. So let's take a look at some of these, right? There's such a large selection of men's clothes. That's by Craig. And I agree with Craig because every single Vinnie's Salvo's op shop that I go into, there's like very little for men. Not too sure why. I think men just don't donate their clothes to op shops for whatever reason. I don't know. Maybe because we don't buy as much, therefore we don't throw out as much. I might just be projecting. I don't buy clothes that often, so I assume all men don't buy clothes that often, but yeah, maybe that's why. If you go to a Savers, you can see plenty of men's clothes. Lucas said, they have no Andre Rieu DVDs. Man, there's always so many DVDs of Andre Rieu. Georgia, oh my god, a Dan Brown novel. You can't find him anywhere. And then Tilda has said straight after, there's no Jodi Picoult novels here. You see those books everywhere within thrift stores. I've never read Dan Brown or Jodi Picoult. I think Dan Brown, is he the guy that did the Da Vinci Code, where people thought it was based on real life, but it's just based on, a fictional book? I remember going to see one of the movies with my sister with Tom Hanks when he had that really disgusting long hair. I don't remember any of it, but I remember just being grossed out by his hair. Now, Lex has said, how do I get my house to smell like this? That is way too on the nose. I went to a Vinnie's the other day, and as soon as I walked inside, it had that musk of old clothes mixed with like soup. Whenever you visit an older person's home and it just smells like they've been cooking soup all day, even if there's no soup anywhere, it just smells like that. Don't know how that smell originates from. That was what it smelled like, and I would hate for my house to smell like this. Louise has said, I'm sure this is clean. I'm going to wear it right away. No, bad mistake. And Bar DJ has said, oh good, more of those terracotta dip packaging pots. Those terracotta dip packaging pots are what I mistake for pottery and get in my way when I'm trying to find $500 mugs now. So I agree with Bar DJ that those terracotta dip packaging pots need to go. But some good ones there. Let's just get straight into the podcast this week because as you can see from the title, we got lucky. We got really lucky. I was invited inside of a house when I went to pick up an item on Facebook Marketplace. You cannot believe how surprised I was because I do not look like somebody that you should be inviting inside of your house, right? So these people took a chance. I made out with a huge haul. Let's just get straight into that. So my Facebook Marketplace algorithm has been on point lately. I don't know whether it's just pure dumb luck or if it's me, trying to train the algorithm with my with my really deliberate clicking, which I don't know if it works. I cannot complain because everything that I'm seeing on Marketplace lately has been stuff that I'm interested in and interested in writing about on the newsletter and talking about on the podcast, because it's just the unusual stuff that you don't see every day, and somehow it just pops up on Facebook. So I found this listing on Marketplace. It was within 5 minutes I had messaged. It was a monster in my pocket figures and playset. That was the title. It said it came with 25 figures, cards, the play caves, and other assorted items in Monster in My Pocket. Now, if you don't know what this is, Monster in My Pocket, okay, it was a toy line that originally was released in the 90s by Matchbox. The exact same Matchbox that makes the Matchbox cars. The very first release, it consisted of like small plastic monster figurines, and each of those little monster figurines, they had like a points value that were associated with them. You could use them to play a game, some sort of tabletop role-playing game, if I'm correct. So those original release figurines, they weren't very detailed. They didn't seem to catch on in like America, and they really only did well down under here in Australia, Europe, maybe the UK. But yeah, they were really basic. You know, they came in different colors, greens and yellows, fluoro type colors. And unless you looked really close from afar, they just look so basic. Collectors to this day are still trying to piece together their entire collections, just because, you know, it blends horror, it blends old toys. So that is very collectible. So that isn't what I found. I found the next series. So that series originally released in the 90s. It faded into obscurity. Nobody wanted to buy them, maybe because it wasn't released in America. That's why it, you know, just didn't have that market power to continue on. You know, it just faded away. I think they had plans for like television shows and books and comics, and I'm sure they had big plans for the line. But yeah, it just fell apart with no one really giving a fuck about it. The Matchbox company, whether they sold the IP or it was, you know, maybe it became public domain, I'm not sure. But if you fast forward to 2006, which doesn't feel like that long ago, but it was 20 years ago, a company called Meg, I don't know if you pronounce it Meg or if it's MEG, but Meg, they decided the best thing to do in business is reboot something that had no popularity in the first place. It didn't connect the first time. Let's try the second time and see if it connects. I'll give you a hint of what happened. It didn't work. It all went wrong. There was very poor sales. There was no interest at all in this thing. There wasn't much nostalgia because it just didn't have that appeal and it wasn't bought by many people. So despite making these figurines much more detailed and creating like backstories for them and coming up with like play sets, you know, like little mountains that you could play with the little figures inside, they lit up, they made sounds, you know, it was 20 years later, 20 years, 90s, it was almost 20 years later that they rebooted it, almost 20 years ago from today. But, you know, technology had changed and they were able to make them more detail and more interactive, but it just didn't catch on. So yeah, nobody gave a fuck about them for the second time. Will somebody reboot the series in 2025? Fuck, man. If you do and you fail a third time, like, this thing is just meant to fade into obscurity yet again. So we're 20 years later, and that is a long time in the toy community, right? So think of like Beanie Babies. They were sold as collectibles and they're now worth nothing, despite what thrift stores price them on when they inevitably get them in their stores. But they were sold as collectibles. This toy line, Monsters in My Pocket, it wasn't sold as a collectible really, but because it's in the horror genre and it's a short-lived product, it wasn't touted as the next way to become a millionaire overnight. That is sort of a recipe for success when it comes to value in modern day collecting. All of those things coming together means that in 2025, we're able to make some money off of this, and people are willing to pay a lot of money. So the reason I'm vaguely familiar with this franchise is because I've sold one of these playsets before, just the playset by itself. It was one of the first things I ever resold. If you go onto flipweekly.com and you look at issue number 11, the 11th issue of Flip Weekly, I found the 2006 Haunted Man. I always say Haunted Mansion, but it's a Haunted Mountain. It's a Haunted Mountain playset. I found it in a thrift store for 50 cents, and it sold to a buyer in the UK for $36, and then they paid on top of that $61.50 in postage and taxes. So they paid $97.50 for this 50-cent toy. Now, when I say Haunted Mountain playset, it's probably about 30 centimeters tall. It has 2 doors on the front of it that open up. They have a staircase inside. They have places in the Haunted Mountain playset where you can put the action figures. And, you can just play, imaginative play with these figures in this playset. And make spooky sounds if you press a button. If you press another button, the eyes light up. It's pretty cool. It looks cool. It looks like something people would collect. So when I saw this Facebook Marketplace listing for 2 play sets, 25 figures, and all of these cards that go with it, you know what I'm thinking? I'm thinking fucking ka-ching. I'm thinking I'm going to go out here right now and pay this person $30 for this playset. I didn't look up comps. I didn't price it. I just said, can I come out right now? I'll pay cash. I'm about 30 minutes away. I'll get in my car, I'll drive out. And the person replied yes. And then, Facebook Marketplace strategy says, market is pending, please, or market is sold. I'm on my way. Give constant updates. I don't want the person to get another message from a buyer that might ask for more money. I want the sale right then and there. I'm not going to say, can I transfer your money? I don't want to go back and forth too much, but I'm just wanting them to lock it in for me. So when I get out there, I'm looking at this deal. I arrive, knock on the door, guy comes out, he's holding these items, and it looked better in person, right? I could see the play sets. I could see what I became to know as decoder lights. So these are like little flashlights. They're horror themed. So there's like a little bat, there's an eyeball. Now these decoder lights, you press a button, they light up, little UV beam, and these highlight like little numbers on some of the figures for bonus points. There was these action accessories. So these were things like catapults. They would throw, some of the items across the room. They were only released in Australia and South Africa, so they're really rare. There was 27 cards, which obviously were those playing cards with the point system, and then was the 25 figures. And I'm thinking, wow, this is it's even better in person. I'm excited. I don't know what it's going to be worth, but I'm paying $30 and I know I'm going to make some more money. Just quickly, I'm not going to tell you prices just yet, but the sell-through rate of this 2006 series is insanely high simply because people didn't buy it back in the day. So, for example, that Haunted Mountain playset that I bought, the sell-through rate for that is 700%. There's little to no eBay activity for a whole bunch of these figures and accessories. So when I list these up, the amount of views that I get on these items, it surpasses other popular IPs like Pokemon and Dragon Ball Z. They get more views than that just because they're so rare. So I was absolutely stoked at this deal. I was more than happy to pay the $30 asking price. And then what happened next was exciting. The guy said to me, so are you into Yu-Gi-Oh? And I'm thinking to myself, oh, okay, we got an opening here. I'm not personally into Yu-Gi-Oh, but I know that it's an anime or it's a manga. I know very little about it except it was on TV. I know it's a cartoon, and from past experience, anime stuff, manga stuff, they sell, and they sell for a lot of money. I said, what have you got? So it sparked a walk down into the garage. Oh, by the way, we're in the Hills District. Now, if you're within Sydney, the Hills District, it's basically a rich area. This house was fucking massive. Huge garage. Their downstairs, I guess, rumpus room, where there was a pool table, a bar. This thing is I'm not kidding, bigger than my fucking Sydney apartment. It made my apartment look small. They probably have more shit in there too and more value than everything that I own. But yeah, this was a really rich area. So we walk in there and I can see in the garage, there's a shelf and it has all these old like Yu-Gi-Oh toys, or not so much old. The toys, I guess, were from around the early 2000s, maybe like 2005, that sort of area. Most of the toys that this person had was from that era. So I'm looking at a huge range of like collectible miniature toy figurines. They all in Tupperware containers and they all have prices on them. And I'm thinking like, I'm starting to second guess if this is going to be a good deal, because did this person just have a garage sale and all this stuff was, looked over and not bought by people? Is it worth nothing? If this person had a garage sale on the weekend and I'm out there and I'm looking, I'd be looking at the dregs, right? I'd be looking at stuff that people didn't buy at a garage sale. I wouldn't be interested in that. So, I just asked like, oh, there's prices. Did you have a garage sale? I was like, oh no, we had one years and years ago, but we're not going to have another one just because, we can't be fucked. So these prices were from years back. They were looked over for whatever reason. And, with all different people, when people say like years ago, you don't know if their range is like 2 years, 3 years. It could have been fucking 20 years ago for all I know. I'm looking at all these Tupperware containers with all these little figurines in them. I can see Yu-Gi-Oh! I can see Gormiti. I can see Fistful of Power. These are all niche stuff and it's not really I know anything about. And to be honest, I might have missed out. Like, I don't think I've ever heard of Gormiti or Fistful of Power before. Yu-Gi-Oh! Obviously, yes, but the others, no. I'm guessing it was just like, yeah, very, very niche, just like the monsters in my pocket. But then I heard him say Ben 10, and my experience with Ben 10 has always been positive. The plush toys for over $100. Me and Sam found sealed action figures from a garage sale that we paid $5 for, and I sold mine for like over $150. Ben 10 has always been good to me. So I'm like, yeah, I'll take a look. Trying to show I'm not, too excited about it. I want to keep some leverage. And I can see a deep Tupperware container full of like individual little, like maybe 10 centimeter action figures. The Tupperware container has a price on the top. It says Ben 10 collectibles, $25 the lot. And, I'm thinking these are 2005, 2006-ish Ben 10 figures. I mean, it's been 20 years since they were originally released. There's maybe 20 to 30 figurines in here. Surely at least one of these is worth a bit of money. If they're as rare as like the action figure I sold before, maybe I'll be able to like make some money from this. With the Ben 10 figures came a base. Now, the base I shouldn't have paid for because it was incomplete, but I had no idea what I was looking at. I think with this whole toy collection, with this whole Ben 10 sort of collectible figures, you get the alien characters, you put them on this base, and then it like makes individual figures or some bullshit. I don't know. I think the arms and the legs and stuff can come apart, and then you put them inside of this figure, this playset, and I don't know how it works. It's just confusing. I should have left the base behind, but either way, I paid $30 for all of these little action figures inside of the Tupperware container. So far, we have the Monster in My Pocket bundle, where I paid $30. We now have a Ben 10 bundle that I also paid $30 for. $60 in total, double what I was originally out there for. I had to switch to, transferring money because I didn't carry any more than that $30. I had no intention of spending any more money. Now at that point, I'm not even joking. Items were like being brought out to me to buy. Like being shoved in my face, being like, do you want this? Are you interested in this? Like item after item, until the dad, the father of the home, thought it would be a good idea to start selling his son's toys. Yes, he called out his son. We got chatting for a bit. It turns out that this guy, he was back home for a bit until he went away on holiday the very next day. So in that time while he's home, he's clearing out his old bedroom. He's getting rid of anything that he didn't want, and he's trying to make some money for the trip. Now, that again is like lightning in a bottle, because this person wants money. He wants quick money. He has all of these old collectible figurines and toys and shit. Let's see what we've got. These are situations we love. Like, how often do you go to a garage sale and you see on the listing it says, we have toys, and you go out there and it's like those fucking cheap knockoff Marvel figures, or it's a bunch of baby rattles. It's nothing. So I'm talking to this guy. By the way, everyone in this family was incredibly nice and generous and just very friendly. I'm talking with this kid, and after a bit of back and forth, he said to me, like, I still have my Pokemon cards. And my jaw like almost dropped. I was like, can I see them? Now, I'm just going to fast forward. I'm going to tell you, I did not buy these Pokemon cards. I didn't make a lowball offer. Okay, so don't worry about that. But this guy, he went inside and he brought out like 3 folders full of vintage 90s Pokemon cards. He had holographic cards. He had, cards that are worth decent money just by themselves. They're all ungraded, obviously. They're all in their sleeves. And I just couldn't believe that he kept them in the sleeves this entire time. Like, I went through each folder seeing entire base sets, jungle, fossil. I legit said out loud that I couldn't believe that I'm holding these cards. And I was also like, I can't believe I'm not filming this, or I'm not like taking photos. I literally didn't even get a photo of the cards. Once they were taken away, my mind is just like, this would be great content, Matt. Like, you should be fucking taking advantage of this instead of just being in awe of these Pokemon cards and not thinking further. I was too in the moment of like, holy shit, is this like a holographic Venusaur? Like, if you get this graded, this could be worth a ton of money. There was like holographic Mewtwo. They had everything but the Charizard, but honestly, it didn't even matter because the collection was just insane. I couldn't believe I was holding on to it, and even though it's not like $1 million, right? Like, it could have been worth maybe $1,000, maybe a bit less. Could you be bothered to get them graded? I don't know, whatever. But we talked about grading, and even though it goes against like my reseller instincts, I told him like, you should probably hang on to these for another 30 years. And I said like, avoid selling the entire collection to somebody like me, because if I'm making an offer on this thing, first of all, I'd be saying, how much do you want for them? We know, when we're negotiating, we don't want to say the first number. I would just wait. But yeah, I'm not gonna make a lowball offer on these Pokemon cards. I was just like, look, mate, hold on to them. They're just so fucking cool. This is a great collection, and you were smart enough back then to keep them in their binders. Just keep them in the binders for a bit longer and just see what happens. And yeah, do not sell them to somebody like me. So we're standing outside. It's starting to rain a tiny bit, but that didn't stop anyone, right? That didn't stop anyone. I'm seeing like more stuff coming in and out. My bank account is just like slowly dwindling down. Even though I've only spent $60. Yeah, fucking poor over here. But next came the Bionicles. Now, Bionicles, they were a discontinued line of Lego toys that ended in 2010. And holy fucking shit, there was a lot of these things. There was a huge bag full of like these Bionicle toys. In one bag was the toys, in another bag were the original containers that the toys came in. I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, oh fuck, like there would be good money here, but I just cannot be fucked to deal with it. It would be what you would call a job lot. This isn't just going to be taking it home, listing it up, taking a photo. No, you're going to have to go through this, see if it's complete. I'm sure they had weapons of some sort, so they're like little individual pieces that might get lost over time. And I just couldn't be fucked to deal with it. So I'm like, look, how much do you want for them? Yes, I still asked about a price because look, if it's going to be $5 for the bag, of course I'm going to take them. I'll leave them in the car for like a couple of years until I can deal with them. But I was like, how much do you want for it? He said $250. It might have been a good deal. It might not have been. I don't know. I said, look, I'm not going to pay that much money, and I'm not going to insult you with an offer. So let's just leave it. You can keep those Bionicle toys. Maybe they'll be worth a bit more in the future. And I was just saying to him, like, as a kid, you're keeping all these original containers. Like, yeah, your Pokemon cards in binders. You have these Lego toys. I mean, you kept the original, like, little tubes for them. Like, you were really organized. And he's like, yeah, I've got, like, some sealed Lego too. And I'm thinking, yeah, I'll take a look at it. Almost like he's doing me a favor. I'm like, yeah, I'll take a look. And he brought out like a huge set. Like this one set was from 2007, over 600 pieces in total. It was almost like a meter long. It might even be a meter long. And it was a set from 2007. It was number 8,927. And you know, with Lego, it's so easy to comp up, it's so easy to look up. All you have to do is type into eBay like Lego followed by the number. I looked up this set 8927 and there was nothing on eBay for active or sold when it came to it being brand new. So to be honest, I had no idea what this thing was going to be worth. I could see pre-owned amounts going for around $120 in the US. You know, I just have to think like you got to add on a bit more if it's brand new and sealed. But at the time, I could only find that amount. So we agreed on half of that, which was $60. $60 for this brand new Lego set from 2007, number 8927. It was actually another Lego Bionicles set. A meter long, like I said, 600 pieces. I don't know anything about it. I'll say the name of it just in case there's a Bionicles fan listening. But it is called the, how do you pronounce that? Like a Toa Terrain Crawler. No idea what that means. But just from looking at the box, it looks like some undercover vehicle based in this Bionicles world. There looks like there's some enemy Bionicles coming to attack like this vessel. Looks like there's a whole bunch of, I guess, minifigures, but you know, these aren't Lego minifigures, they're Bionicle minifigures, so they're a bit bigger. But yeah, if you just want to Google Lego number 8927, you can see what this looks like. The artwork on it is really cool, but yeah, I can't really describe it in any more detail because they're all made up words. Like if I said to you, oh, the Toa Terrain Crawler has a Kordak blaster that really fires, you'd be like, okay, what the fuck did any of that mean? It includes 6 miniature Toa Mari and 4 miniature Baraki figures. It sounds like I'm making shit up, right? Yeah, I can't explain it anymore except for the fact sealed Lego from 2007, and I'm taking a flyer on it for $60. A recap: we have Monster in My Pocket playsets figures, $30 I spent. Ben 10 figures, $30 I spent. This sealed Lego, $60. So that is, by the power of mathematics, $120 so far. But guess what? The deals do not stop there. As I said, it's starting to rain, and after I've sent these guys $120 in total, I was invited inside. You know, I said earlier, the rumpus room downstairs with the bar, with the pool table, was massive. Well, inside that rumpus room was also a couch with a TV in front of it and a whole host of gaming consoles and video games. The son said that he had old PlayStation 1 and PlayStation 2 games that he wanted to get rid of. Asked me if I was interested, and I was like, yeah, I think I could be interested in that. Again, like, this guy's doing me a favor. So, you know, I'm sort of like, I had to pinch myself because it's like the plots that you see on YouTube resellers or, you know, on social media. It's not something that happens in real life where people invite you inside to buy their valuable items for, you know, a penny on the dollar. So yeah, I walk inside, mesmerized by the entire, like, I don't even know if this is like a part of their house. Like, the place was that big that I'm like, am I like in the room that's attached to the garage that's just by itself? Like, do you guys walk out of your home, walk down the street type thing, and then come into here to play games? Like, is this even attached? So I'm in there, and out come the games. Before I tell you what the games were, this was really good sort of like training for me, because remember, I created flipvidya.com. That's flipvidya. So vid is V-I-D and ya is Y-A. I created flipvidya.com, which is like the flash game type thing where it shows 3 video games on the screen, and your job or the game is to click on which one is the most valuable. You can like go on the leaderboard, you get points. And I do that often because I sort of find it funny, and at the same time, when I'm out at garage sales or at thrift stores or whatever, or even on Facebook Marketplace when I'm looking for deals, I want to be able to know if this deal is going to be worth buying just based on looking at the video games. I don't want to offer at a garage sale, or how much do you want for the entire tub? Because in most cases, they're like 1 or 2 good games and the rest is all shit, and then you're just left with the shit. even though you've just paid for like, you've paid that bulk amount. Like I would rather just pay individually for the games I know are going to be good. This was a good test for me. There was maybe like 50 games in total, and I just went through them one by one. I was like using like, my training. Like this is like when training meets reality, right? This is me. This is my fucking Super Bowl right here. I'm trying to work out which games to buy, which games to leave behind. I can see games like SmackDown versus Raw, like WWE wrestling games. My training tells me this is like a $5 game. We're not going to buy it. But we see other games like The Simpsons Hit and Run, and we know that that's a $100 game. So we're gonna do that. We're gonna leave behind the games, or we're gonna put them aside that we know aren't worth any money, and we're going to get the ones that are worth money, or at least we know in our mind what this bundle is going to be worth, so that when we're making an offer, we know if it's going to be a good offer or a bad offer. I said to this guy, we were talking it all over, and I was just repeating, I said to this guy, I only wanted to do a deal if he was going to be happy with the outcome, because I don't want to snipe any games that he wanted to keep. Obviously, I'm there to make money, and I'm there to find like interesting, unique titles, interesting, unique items to talk about, whatever. But at the same time, I don't want to offer peanuts. I want to offer what is fair and allows this person to be happy. Like, this is spending money for a trip. Like, I want you to be happy with what you're ending up with, especially considering these are old games that you probably grew up with. And, eventually, once there was like the piles of the video games, he just said, can I keep 2 of these games? And of course I was like, yeah, take them out. Like, I don't mind. You keep what you want. I'll take what you don't want, and we'll come to a deal. So we counted up 39 games. And at that point in time, I had already spent $120. I'm thinking I'm a bit hesitant to spend any more money. Like, again, I've already spent like triple what I've already like went out there for. Do I want to spend too much more money? Not really. So like if I get a huge price, I might just leave them behind. But we agreed on a price, and it was $5 per game. And I thought, you know what, that's fair. It's an awesome deal. There's no sort of hesitancy within me anymore. So, 39 games times 5, it comes up to just under $200. But I was like, look, let's just do $200 even, and then done. I transferred the money, and I had spent a total of, $320. So we had, the Monster in My Pocket, Ben 10, the Lego, and the video games. PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2 games. Now, honestly, who would have thought when I went out there that it was going to turn into like this huge haul? I didn't. I was there for one item, a $30 item that I thought I could make some decent money with. Turns out I bought a lot more, and I was shocked that I was invited in. Like I said earlier in the intro, I'm not a particularly like, I don't know. I've said a million times, I feel like I have like a resting bitch face, or just like I don't think, and I'm being legit. I'm not trying to like, I don't know. I'm not trying to be like poor Matt, but I don't think I look friendly, and I don't engage in like, small talk that often. When I'm speaking to people, it's usually for a purpose, and it's not, it's not to be friendly. So I was just really surprised. Maybe I looked like a mark. Maybe I looked like somebody that they could take advantage of. I don't know. But yeah, I was just honestly surprised that I was invited inside. So we're going to go through what these items were. And I guarantee you would not believe how much this is going to end up being in terms of listed value. So let's start off from the lowest to the highest. And we're starting off with the Ben 10 figures. These were listed up as a lot. We had a total of 32 figures plus 20 cards. They're quite rare. They're from the creation chamber. That's what I was talking about before, where you put like the bodies inside of this chamber and it somehow makes different alien combinations. Now that has been put up for $150. So far, it already has 250 views and 12 people watching it. And I swear to God, that might be my most viewed listing so far. That was a really good pickup. $30 into $150. We're almost like a third of the way to paying off this entire bundle. So really good pickup there. Ben 10. I would buy Ben 10. I'd consistently buy Ben 10 if I see it, providing it's like in a bundle or if it's like brand new and sealed. It's always worth a look up. They're just weird alien looking motherfuckers. Now the next thing was the Monster in My Pocket. Now it's a huge bundle. I've listed it up all together, not individually. The second gen figures, there's all the cards, there's the decoders, there's the accessories. This stuff does not come up often on eBay, and it's already got 128 views, 10 people watching it, and the listed value is $499.95. Insanity. So that is, let's add it up at the end actually, because next we have the Lego. Now this Bionicles Lego, brand new and sealed, this in any other week would have been like the main topic of the entire podcast or the entire newsletter, because I was able to find it on price charting. Now, as I said before, I wasn't able to find any active listings, any sold listings for this sealed set. I could only find it pre-owned, some missing parts, some like 99% complete. I paid $60 for it, and on price charting, I can see that it comes up maybe once every 6 months or so. And the very last sale was in 2025. There was only one. It was in February, and it was sold for $497.50. At this point in time, there is one other active listing on eBay, and it's gone up for $1,000 exact. So with that information, knowing the last sold was $500, there's one currently active at $1,000. I'm like, let's split the difference. Let's do $750. So that's $60 that I spent into $750. Insanity. I'm doing a cheeky undercut of that top listing at $1,000, but that in itself would pay for everything. But again, it doesn't stop there, because we're going to the video games. Now, what ended up happening with the video games was I ended up just taking all of it, and that includes the wrestling games and the games that had no value. We just decided, let's just do it all, and we're not leaving anything behind. What's the point? So I took it all. There were some heavy hitters in here, like really, really heavy hitters. I mean, this is the most valuable part of the deal, and we're up to $750 for the Lego, so this is even higher than that. I bought 39 games in total, and 15 of those games I've bundled together to just get rid of them, okay? And those 15 games are just $79.95, so just a cheeky $80. We're getting rid of them. Now, of the remaining games, there's a couple of bundles. For example, there's a Spyro bundle from the PlayStation 2, 4 games, $80. That's fine, another cheeky $80, it all adds up. There's another bundle, Croc on PlayStation 1. Number 1 and number 2, cheeky bundle, $80. All starting to add up, You heard me say about Simpsons Hit and Run before. That game, really good game. It's $100 all day long. I listed it up for $80 for a quick sale. There was Dragon Ball Z. There was 2 games. Now, Dragon Ball Z is a heavy hitter on most consoles, especially this Budokai Tenkaichi game. If you've ever sold video games, you would know this one because it's like almost a holy grail. Unfortunately, I got number 1 and number 2. The home run is number 3, but still, those 2 games alone, $80. But let me talk about the absolute best game in this collection. The most valuable game here, it's all in one case, but it's 3 games in one. I have listed it up. Wait, before I tell you how much I've listed it up for. The case, it's a Harry Potter collection, and it includes 3 Harry Potter games. Number 1, number 2, number 3, which of course are Philosopher's Chamber, Azkaban. Those 3 games in one. I've listed that up for $219.95. Fuck. Just for this one game. Technically it's three games, but it is just like, it's like the one case, you know what I mean? There's 3 manuals inside. There is 3 discs inside, but it's just the one. So considering I paid $5 a game and one of the games alone is worth $219.95, I would say this is a home run. I've included all of the games and photos and titles and stuff on the Flip Weekly newsletter, flipweekly.com, but the total amount for all of those games is $989.54. Now, I know I've just thrown a lot of numbers at you, so I'm not going to be like fucking, what's Danny DeVito in Matilda, where he's like, what's that? What does that add up to? It's like, you're not supposed to know what that is. Let's just run through them again. 4 deals. One, $989. So let's just round up $1,000. Monster in My Pocket, $500. Ben 10, $150. Lego, $750. I spent a grand total of $320, and the total listed value is $2,389.49 fucking cents. Who would have thought I would be coming home with over $2,000 worth of listed value? Now, this isn't just bullshit. You know, you can go out, buy how many pairs of jeans? 20 pairs of jeans, there's your $2,000 listed value. That's not exciting. That's not fun. That stuff isn't going to get hundreds of views within like the first couple of days. It's not fun, at least for me. I don't find any enjoyment in jeans. I always talk about jeans as like the most boring fucking thing. I'll never be a reseller that buys jeans. This stuff is cool shit. This is stuff that doesn't come up that often, and when it does, people flock to it. You know, spoiler alert, I had one of the quickest sales I've ever had in 8 minutes once I listed one of these items up. I'll talk about it a bit later, but this is such cool shit. So, I mean, is there a lesson here? What is the lesson here? Is it that marketplace is unpredictable? It's maybe you don't look as threatening as you think you do? Is it if you're buying like these older toys, do you just ask if you have more? Like, what else you got? You know, what else you got? Is it always accept offers to go into strangers' houses? And I know after last week's conversation, not everyone is in the same position where if you get invited inside, you don't immediately think like, oh, I'm in danger. But yeah, insane. I couldn't believe that I got invited inside. You know, I was there for one thing. I left with multiple things. Total listed value, $2,389. Like, you get rid of $320 into $2,389 is just, that is really, really good. I'm happy with it. Facebook Marketplace is not to be slept on. To be honest, I've only just started getting into Facebook Marketplace buying on weekends recently. I didn't really do much on it. I was always at sales. I was always at thrift stores, op shops. But once I realized, you know, like, the power of fucking Facebook Marketplace to show me these amazing deals. And as long as you're one of the first people to message, you can get cool shit like this. So go back, listen to the podcast where I talked about my exact Facebook Marketplace strategy. If you're wanting to read about it, you can read it on the Flip Weekly newsletter. But, you know, I lay it all out for you. There's enough deals for us all to get some, you know, like, every single house down your street could have this cool shit in there. So always be on Facebook Marketplace. Look for this cool stuff. Train your little algorithm. Whether or not it works, I don't know, but the results are coming in and it's pointing towards yes. You know what? That isn't all that I bought this week. That wasn't enough. We're going to move away from Facebook Marketplace and let's go into a thrift store. So we're in a thrift store. We're in a Savers, and I find something that had a familiar brand to it, but it was really, really rare, and the graphic is banned. It is banned in Australia. So I found a mug, a Mambo mug with a really nice graphic on the front. I probably shouldn't say really nice graphic considering it's banned and people got extremely offended by it. But the mug features a design by an Australian artist. The artist's name is Richard Allen. He created this design back in 1986, and the graphic is of a mouse. It's an image of a mouse. The mouse is on a cross, you know, like a crucifixion cross. And it has a caption on it saying, "Forgive them, Father, they know not what to wear." So this poor mouse is getting crucified, I guess for wearing cool clothes. It was released in 1986, like I said. It sparked controversy back then. And then it was re-released in department stores in 2010. And guess what? The exact same issues were raised. The Mambo crucifixion design, it was withdrawn from stores after getting, so many complaints. And it was just like, I guess it was just banned, right? If I would have found this on a t-shirt instead of a mug, this would have been a huge home run. We're talking like probably $500, if not more. But we didn't. Yeah, Mambo as a company, they're known for platforming like Australian designers, and sometimes those designs are controversial. Yeah, those designs on t-shirts, they're being bought constantly on eBay, and they're making a ton of money if you're finding it to resell. You always hear about Mambo Loud shirts, and yeah, these are those type of graphics, but it's just on a mug. So I put it up for $50 plus postage, and I really don't see why I wouldn't get it. It just looks really cool. I wouldn't be mad if it doesn't sell, because it's one of those things where I would probably keep it. It's one of the very, very rare things where I think it would look good in my cupboard next to like my two glasses, right? You have to know that as soon as I found this, I went straight to like the button-up shirts, and I looked just like for vintage Mambo Loud shirts. Didn't find any. But yeah, to reiterate what every reseller has ever said, you can make hundreds of dollars if you find those Mambo Loud shirts. But I mean, in terms of like the controversy of the design, I can't really speak on it too much, because I'm not religious, and I've done things in the past where it's controversial and people have gotten upset. So I don't have any issues with it. It would be hypocritical if I did. I know that if I was a designer and this piece was going into stores, like, you have to know 100%, you would know in advance that it was either going to get pulled from the shelves, or it's going to create controversy and boost sales. Like, they're the only two options. But I mean, what do you think? Do you think like this sort of design is like offensive? Is it like offensive, disgusting art? Is it just edgy humor that doesn't hurt anyone? Does it offend you as a religious person to see a cartoon mouse being crucified for wearing trendy clothes? I don't know. I think it's okay. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. Oh, there's images on the newsletter, of course. Or I'll be putting up a video about this mug on social media, so just keep an eye out for that. You'll be able to see what it looks like, what this mouse looks like before he's put to death. But just quickly before we get into what's sold, one more item. We go from a Savers over to a Lifeline, and I couldn't believe it. We have found another Sony Walkman. 2 Sony Walkmans in 2 weeks. Now, this is a level up from last week's Sony Walkman, because that was a cassette tape player, right? We went from cassettes, we jumped over CDs, and now we're into digital media. It's a digital music player. It's an MP3 player, right? 20 gigabytes in size, decent size. Can you actually, speaking of that, can you imagine back in like the cassette tape player days telling people that you have like this compact little media player that can hold 20 gigabytes of music? They honestly wouldn't believe you, but they also wouldn't believe you because they wouldn't know what 20 gigabytes is. But yeah, this is it's a Sony Walkman. It's purple. It has this really cool, like sort of sick purple aesthetic vibe to it. If you look online, everyone that talks about this music player, they talk about how cool it looks. Like, it's so compact. It feels well made. Has a little screen on it with actual physical buttons, but really the design is where the compliments end, because I had a go at this. I love myself some portable media. I have my iPod collection, but this thing, like the user interface and the way that you interact with it is just so poor. Scrolling down songs and artists, it's like it takes forever. And when I was reading up about this MP3 player online, I could actually see people complaining about the exact same thing from like years ago. They were complaining about the scrolling mechanism and how they literally wouldn't listen to other artists. They would only listen to artists at the beginning of the alphabet because scrolling down just wasn't worth it. So, I mean, you would be listening to your Akon, you'd be listening to your Aaron Carter. Who else starts with fucking A? Adele. You would never listen to ZZ Top, right? Always be A artists, which would suck because there's some good artists with, Z's and Y's and X's. Is there? I'm just talking shit. I don't know anyone. My music knowledge begins and ends with, I I don't know. See, that's the thing about having Spotify is you don't listen to albums anymore. You listen to random song here, random song there from like the Discover Weekly portion of Spotify. So you're not learning who these bands are. You're just like, oh, I know that song. I like that song. You don't know anything about them. Yeah. Anyway, the comps on this MP3 player, they're really good. The supply is low. There was one active listing, and the fucking active listing had 126 people watching it. And you're like, what the fuck? Why are there so many people watching this? How is there 126 people that want this item, but they haven't bought it yet? Like, fans of this product, people that have no money to buy it. That wouldn't be a very good sign. The sell-through rate that indicates that people are like actively looking out for it. They're actively buying these players. There's comps for this ranging between $160 and $220. Now, I bought this for $29. Those comps that I just talked about, they were just for the player. Now, when I got this, I got it in the Lifeline. I pulled it out. I just went up to the counter with the individual player, and the lady was like, oh, it comes with the box. And I was like, oh my God, that's so good. It was sitting on the box. I didn't see it. It was outside of the fucking box, like just being displayed. I was thinking beforehand, like, oh, I'm going to have to get a charging cable and everything to make sure it works. But no, the box was underneath and had everything inside, from like the manuals to the chargers to the headphones, literally everything inside, instruction manual. I was able to list this up for $250. So $29 into $250. Listen to what I sold. Actually, we could just go straight into what I sold. I sold the fucking what I just talked about, the Sony player. $250. It's off to Chile. They paid an absorbent amount of money in shipping, but yeah, that was out the door in less than a week for $250. So Sony Walkmans you're going to want to buy. Let's run through some of these video games real quick. We had one of my fastest ever sales, listed at 5:19 p.m., sold at 5:27 p.m. That's an 8-minute sale price. 8-minute sale price, 8-minute sale time. Now, it isn't the fastest sale of all time for me. The quickest one was when I was with my sister in the garage sale trail. I was with Sam, and she sold something in 4 minutes on Facebook Marketplace. The very first time she ever came with me to garage sales and were able to sell something in 4 minutes. I'm so surprised that it didn't hook her, you know, never been back since. Had that quick sale time, never came back again. You would think if you sold something within 4 minutes, you'd be like, hey, when can we do this again? It was, I can't remember what it was. I think it might have been like $2 into 30. It was a small Goosebumps figure, and it was on a weekend when Facebook Marketplace is usually pretty good. So this one didn't beat that record, but it was 8-minute sale price. It was a Ratchet & Clank bundle from the video game haul, and that was out the door for $79.95. It was 4 video games in total, all Ratchet & Clank. So I'm marking that down as $20 into $80 just because of the $5 sale. The $5 buying price that I paid for each of these video games. So 20 into 80, not too bad. And then after that, we had another video game from that haul. It was The Simpsons Hit and Run, out the door, $5 into $80. And that was sold in 92 minutes. I severely underpriced this. You know, I said to you before, Simpsons Hit and Run, you can get pretty much every day about $100. I listed it for $79.95 to undercut all the other Australian eBayers, and I got a quick sale. You know, I wanted quick sales for all of these just to recoup some money, and that's, yeah, out the door, 92 minutes. You should have seen me that afternoon when I was home. I was like psyched that I got such a good bundle of items, and then to have multiple sales coming in that night as I'm cooking dinner, I'm like, okay, this is great. We're going to have a good time with these video games. And just remember, when it comes to The Simpsons Hit and Run, or when it comes to The Simpsons on PlayStation 2, there are 2 video games that you want to be looking out for. And just know, Hit and Run is the #1 game. You can get $100 for it. The other Simpsons game is called Road Rage, and you can get about $50. It sometimes struggles to hit $50, but I know for me personally, I get confused between the 2 titles sometimes when I'm out. But yeah, just always remember, Hit and Run is good, Road Rage is bad. if you're able to put together some sort of memory trick for you to remember that, maybe, you rage at Simpsons Road Rage because it doesn't hit $100. I don't know. Or the Simpsons Hit and Run. I don't know, come up with something yourself to differentiate the two. And the other thing to remember with these video game titles is you can get more money for the original black label cases. This particular game that I bought, it came in the platinum case. Now, the platinum case was made for when the games hit a certain milestone. So when they sold X amount of games, then they became platinum. It's exactly how record labels create, multi-platinum records. Collectors pay more for the original black label case that doesn't have the platinum on it. It's just something to keep in mind when you're buying these items. Now, the next one that sold was Futurama from the Video Game Hall, 5 into $49.95. That was out the door in 48 hours, but there's a tip that I'm going to share with you about Futurama. And it's the difference between selling Futurama for $50 or selling it for $500. I'm not even kidding. If you look on eBay sold listings for Futurama on PlayStation 2, you'll notice two things. One, Futurama that usually sells for between $35 and $50, and two, a Futurama that sells on bid and on buy it now for around $500. Like, I'm looking at one that sold on the 16th of August, just a couple of days ago, 12 bids, $456. What is the difference between these two titles? The difference is that one is PAL and one is NTSC. PAL is the Australian version, but they're also released in other European countries, the UK. NTSC is the Americas, North America, South America, some parts of Asia. They're slightly different in the cover. You want to be looking in the bottom left corner, and it's the rating. So what the video game has been rated. Here in Australia, we use a GPG M type rating, whereas in America, they use something a bit different. So this video game in Australia is rated PG. In America, it's rated T for teen, I guess, or teenager. The NTSC Teenager America version of Futurama, $500. The Australian one, unfortunately, about $50. And I mean, just thinking about it, the reason the price is different is the PAL version had more copies made. The NTSC version didn't have as many. And that really is it. Supply and demand. And you want to be finding Futurama NTSC. Look for the little T in the bottom left-hand side. You can also notice the covers are a tiny bit different. Like, there's a very small stroke around the characters on the American version, whereas the Australian version doesn't have that. Would you find a Futurama American version in Australia? Probably not. Could you find it in America? Yes. I mean, where else are you going to find it? So just be aware of Futurama. Keep that in the back of your head that it can be a very good game if you find a specific version of it. The next lot that sold from the Video Game Hall was Spyro the Dragon PlayStation 1 edition. We had 3 of them in total. They sold for $100. Turnaround time of less than 48 hours, so we had 15 into $100 PlayStation 1 games. A bit trickier to post than the standard PlayStation 2 because the cases are more delicate, so they have to go into a box, whereas with the PlayStation 2 games you can just put them inside of a padded mailer. And the next one was a PlayStation 2 game that sold Scooby-Doo, $40 it sold for, so that's 5 into 40. You'll notice now that we're getting a good return of our money because this Scooby-Doo actually sold with the Simpsons Hit and Run earlier. It was a dual order, so this technically sold within 92 minutes. So we're getting some money back from this haul. We're slowly making our money back. I mean, if we add all of that up so far, we're about $350. So after fees, after post, we've easily made our money back. And remember, we still have some amazing video games to sell from that haul, including the Harry Potter collection, the 3 video games all in one that's listed up for over $200. So this has been a home run marketplace deal. And I didn't even go to this place for the video games. If you're not believing in Facebook Marketplace, I hope I have convinced you it is extremely lucrative if you're able to find some good deals like this. Now, it was only the other month that I was talking to you about a DVD that I picked up in Savers. It was Captain Planet, the complete collection, 2017 box set. I found it in Vinnie's for $15 and it sparked some curiosity within me to see what other television shows are worth money. If you go to flipweekly.com right now, you're going to see that I put together a list of over 100 nostalgic 90s television shows, and I've ranked them based on eBay value. Now, Captain Planet makes the list because I sold this DVD of Captain Planet and the Planeteers complete collection for $189.95. It sold in 53 days, so less than 2 months. If you find it out in the wild, pick it up. Do not sleep on the DVD category. I looked at the trending searches on eBay right now, and video games is below DVDs and Blu-rays in terms of what people are searching. That is insane. The return of physical media is coming. It's coming fast. And if you're ignoring DVDs and Blu-rays, then you're leaving money behind. This, 15 into $189.95. Is that not a return that you would want? Speaking of a good return, I finally got the charger for the iPod Shuffle that I bought for $5. Now, I've talked about iPods numerous times. You can find them on Marketplace and at garage sales for just a couple of dollars. Most people lose the chargers that go with them because Apple loves to change up their technology. The earphone input now is different than the earphone input back in the day. So most people don't even have earphones for these old iPods. They can't test them out, so they have to sell them in most cases as untested. So I got this for $5 completely untested, but here's the thing. Back in the day, they made products that quote unquote just work. And when I bought this iPod, it was an iPod Shuffle. It's the one without the screen, very tiny, has the little clip on it so you can clip it onto your pants. And I just knew that it was going to work. I have so much experience with iPods that I just knew that it was going to work. The only issue was having to buy the charger, but you can get the charger for these online for like $2 or $3 from eBay, from AliExpress. And that's what I did. I found a random pair of earphones that I had laying around. I paired it all together and I finally got it listed up after testing it out and seeing that it fully worked. It's just a green iPod Shuffle, 1 gigabyte. You can't hold many songs with 1 gigabyte of storage space, but because I bundled it up with the charger and the earphones, I was able to list it higher than the other eBay listings where they're putting it up for maybe $50. I chucked it up for $59.95 and it sold in less than 24 hours with some of the worst photography I've ever taken. I'm not even kidding. I didn't go to my usual nook where I turn on some lights and I have a white background and I take a photo. I was sitting at my office desk and I just had it next to me, right next to, where I keep my water and my energy drinks. And I just turned like my body like 25 degrees to the left, took a photo and put it on eBay. You'll be able to see at flipweekly.com, the newsletter, just how poor that photography is. Nothing is even in frame, really. It's just the laziest shit ever, and it sold in less than 24 hours for $60. And these things are so light, you can chuck it in the smallest padded mailer. And I swear to God, the postage on this was it was a couple of bucks. So we're able to make decent amount of profit. And, I'm going to continue to buy iPods. I'm going to continue to recommend buying iPods. They're fun to buy. You get to open up iTunes for the first time in fucking years and see all of the old music that you used to listen to. You can sort it by the amount of times you listened to a particular song. So you can see, you were listening to Kanye West before he went fucking nuts, right? Like maybe scrub that from your iTunes. But we had that great sale, less than 24 hours sale time. Amazing. If you find an iPod in the wild for $5, buy it. Next item was a model kit, and man, these model kits, they're uninspiring to me. I found this scale model 1 to 24. It was a McLaren Mercedes, so F1 Formula 1 Lewis Hamilton, fully sealed. It came with the little paints that you paint the little cars, and I was surprised at the price that I paid, $40. It sold for $150. But why am I spending $40 on a model car kit? I picked it up. It was with a ton of other model car kits. None of the others were sealed. None of the others came with the paint kits. And I thought, it's quite rare. It's a good brand, Revel. And Lewis Hamilton, I thought was relevant enough that it might sell quickly. But it took fucking 6 months to get out the door. And I know I've been seeing on other, YouTubers' accounts that they're having trouble selling scale model kits as well. Like, I think it was the other day I was watching a video of Kirsty and Matt, resellers within Sydney. They were selling a similar sort of product and they had trouble getting it out the door. Now, why is everyone having trouble selling these scale model kits? Is it because nobody gives a fuck about doing scale model kits anymore? I read a report the other day that nobody is reading. If nobody is reading, I can't imagine anyone is completing model kits and painting them. You know, is the consumer base dying out? Is this an older person's thing to be doing? If you're under the age of, 30, I don't think you're doing this. If you're under the age of 50, maybe. If anyone has any insight into this sort of particular niche, I'm sure there would be people that do it, but maybe they can't spend $150 on a product. I don't know. I would recommend not buying this sort of stuff in the future. It looks valuable, it is valuable, but the sell-through rate, at least for me, isn't good enough. And it's also quite big and bulky. You know, it's this 1/24 scale kit doesn't fit inside of a Australia Post box, no matter how big you go, even the extra large. So I had to find a box, and I'm looking at the box. I have the model kit inside of it. The box is from Bunnings. It's the smallest moving box. And I'm looking at it. There's so much space on either side at the top. And I'm just thinking, if I have to send this box at the current size, I'm going to pay a lot more money just because it's so oversized. And I looked at it and I thought I could cut it down. And I did the measurements. If I cut it down, I could save about $15 in postage. But I'm just thinking, can I be fucked to cut this thing down? And the answer to that was no. I just could not be fucked. So what did I do? I got butcher's paper, scrunched it up, and just filled it with maybe 15 pages of butcher's paper. So it is my fault in a way. But yeah, I couldn't believe I spent $40 on this. That's not something I would do. So yeah, I wouldn't pay this sort of money again. Sell-through rate and profit margin, I'll be lucky to make about $50 on this. So yeah, I think that's about it for sales. Go into flipweekly.com to check out some of the images, some of the photos. I might have missed out a few things, but they're not worth me talking about here. They're worth writing about. I don't know why there is a difference between writing and speaking, but let's move on. And we're going to be moving on to secondhand opinions. Because last week I asked you, when you're selling locally, where do you usually meet the buyer? I asked this because I read online that, especially in America, people are hesitant to have people from the internet come around and pick up their items that they're selling. The culture over there is a bit different. Here in Australia, I don't really care that people are coming to my home to pick up items. So my answer was, I bring them to my house. The marketplace people that I met up with this weekend, their answer to this question was, we bring them to our house and we invite them inside. Is that not the difference between selling in America, where they're you meet at a cop shop, versus Australia, where you're bring them in? But everyone else voted at home. It won easily, 66%. After that was I don't sell locally, and then just below that was in public. So more people don't sell locally than people that meet others in public. So there you go. That reminds me, I had somebody want to come and pick up this Star Wars board game off me maybe 2 or 3 months ago. And they were like, can you meet me at the train station? I'm like, oh, yes. It's for a $20 board game. I go out there and they're like, oh, we ended up driving. Can you meet us at the park? I'm like, if you drove, why the fuck didn't you meet me at my home? So I go meet at the park and sell the board game. I'm like, what is this? Why couldn't you just come to my place? Were they scared to come to a Facebook marketplace pickup? I don't know. To those people that don't sell locally, I'm just assuming it's either because you don't want to or it's for safety reasons. But let me tell you why I sell locally. It's because of instant cash. I have my eBay payouts set for daily, but it's not really daily. It does take a bit of time, and I need a constant stream of money to fund my ridiculous lifestyle, right? If I sell an item on a Friday morning, I'm not getting paid until at least Monday, maybe midday at the earliest. And if I need spending money over the weekend, what on earth am I supposed to do? I'm not getting a real job, right? I'm not getting a real job, and I'm not going to use that money. That's not happening. Marketplace, providing the buyer isn't window shopping. It's instant money in your bank, whatever. Speaking of window shopping, I had a guy come round on, it might have been Friday or Thursday, because they said to me in a message, this is for a 1989 Batman movie book. They said in a message, can I come round and check it out? And instantly, alarm bells are going off. This isn't a serious buyer. They want to come and check it out. It's a $20 book. It's a fucking $20 book and you want to come and check it out. I had plenty of photos up showing the condition, and guy comes around and he takes a look at it and he's flicking through every single page. We're just having a chat. He's like, yeah, I really like the movies. I'm like, yeah, are you a collector? Are you going to display it? Or he's like, oh, I'm just going to read it. And he's like, yeah, I think I might try and source a book in better condition. I'm like, okay, like, why the fuck did you waste my time coming around? That is a note to you people. If somebody is asking questions on Facebook Marketplace, can I come and check it out? Can I come and try it on? If it's anything like that, it's usually going to be a person that isn't serious. And if they're coming to try on something, like a jacket, they'll make a comment like, oh, it's a bit short, the sleeves are a bit short, it's not really my size, but I'll still take it, but I'm going to want some money off it. I've had this happen before, and in most cases, you're just like, fine, whatever, just take it, you're already here. So just be aware of that. The more questions, usually the less serious. But let's move on to this week's topic, and this week's topic is, do you ever attempt to repair items that don't work? The reason I'm asking this question is because it's an opportunity for me to brag and to gloat, because a week ago, I found a Sony Walkman cassette player. I found it in a Savers. It was only $12.99. To nobody's surprise, it didn't fully work. The cassette function didn't work. The AM/FM radio thankfully did. And I was like, I'm not going to throw this out or redonate it. I decided to pull it apart, and I was going to try my hand at repairing it, because if I was successful at repairing it, I'd be able to list it on eBay for close to $200. And I watched a few YouTube videos, read a few articles, and the common cause was a belt that had been worn out. A worn out belt. We all know what that feels like. I ordered a new one. It came from Taiwan. It cost me $22. I installed it today, which was incredibly easy, and guess what? It's now working good as new. Honestly, the feeling of accomplishment just from doing like the most basic repair is so big that I have to remind myself that this is entry level shit. Like, Matt, this is entry level like tech repair shit. And obviously me being me, I'm thinking like, oh, I should just start buying these to repair. I should be that person that searches eBay for items for parts or for repair, knowing that like if I buy one of these for parts and repair and the belt on it is still good, then I'm like, oh well, shit out of luck for that, and then I'll have to fucking sell it on. Anyway, happy days. I'll take it. It's a little win, but I'm going to pass the mic over to you, and I'm asking you. Do you ever try to repair items that aren't working? We've all had those VHS players, old phones, the like cassette players like this. Let me know. You can vote in the poll on flipweekly.com. You can get in touch on social media. Just reply to the newsletter if you're a subscriber. Just let me know. I'm wanting to know if you try and repair stuff. Maybe you can give me some hints. I can tell you how to repair a cassette player. Well, I can't tell you how to repair one. I can tell you how to change the belt. You tell me something, I'll tell you something. You scratch my back. That type of shit. Now that's all I've got for you this week. If you're wanting some more reseller content, go onto the newsletter at flipweekly.com. You can see photos. If you want to see videos, social media, we're all over YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. And if you are on the Sunshine Coast, listen to 92.7 Mix FM Thursday morning, either 9 a.m. or Friday morning, 9 a.m. You might hear a familiar voice on there. But thanks again for listening. That's all I've got for you. Have a great week. Enjoy yard sales on the weekend, and I'll see you again next week.
Flip, 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 flip weekly.